Hi friends, again greetings from the Castle Lien. I just got an inspiration to share something which with you. Just a few minutes ago, I shared an article which I have written 2018, which was also published about the deep quantum effect. The deep quantum effect is something which I didn't talk too much about in the last time, but I find it a very significant discovery which happened to me 2017 probably when I was in Taiwan on a very intense journey visiting different places to hold lectures at universities and meet people and do research. And there was one very significant night because we came long flight from Europe and directly went to Taichung to stay overnight. Before the next day, there was a conference where I had to give a lecture on quantum theory and information medicine. And I didn't prepare anything for this lecture. So in the night, still suffering from my jet lag, I woke up 7 times. And in this 7 times, whenever I woke up, I had a fragment of as a vision of the lecture which I would give the next day. So the whole lecture was kind of envisioned in this night where I was mainly sleeping but waking up again and again, and by waking up having a very clear idea of this content. So the main subject of this lecture then was the deep quantum effect. And this deep quantum effect basically happened to me in this night. So waking up, having a complete clear idea about a new concept, which I have not thought of before, is this kind of what I call a deep quantum effect. What also happened to a composer like Mozart, who in a second gets the whole symphony and just has to write it down. It happens to artists, it happens to scientists, this kind of eureka effect, which I think Archimedes experienced, and so many others. And it's something which happens day-to-day life. And it, in my consideration, it also happens in the therapeutic work which people do with patients. Because if people do therapeutic work with patients, they establish a relationship with the patient. It's very important. Without a relationship, this kind of effect will not happen. So this doesn't depend on being very close physically to the person, but the relationship needs to be there. And then, on the other hand, there's always an instrument of therapy, a therapeutic instrument. And on the other side, there is a concept within the therapist operates and uses this physical therapy instrument. So altogether is kind of square. I call it the therapeutic square. And if this is established properly, spontaneously, the deep quantum effect can happen. And the deep quantum effect is an observation effect, a quantum observation effect, which is not triggered by the external fragmented consciousness in which we normally are, but from the deeper holotropic consciousness, which is always in us, which we might contact in a deep meditation or after an intercontinental flight where our fragmented consciousness is so fragmented that we are reaching out to a deeper consciousness level within ourselves. Phases of creativity, spiritual inspirations, moments of enlightenment are always a contact with this deep holotropic consciousness within us. And if we are in contact with this, if we are this deeper holotropic consciousness, then from there a creative impulse can manifest in the external world. And this manifestation is a quantum effect. It's an observation effect, which is in quantum physics always triggered by consciousness. If it is triggered by the fragmented external consciousness, then the normal physical events happen like every day in our life. But if it's triggered from a deeper observer, the holotropic consciousness, which is more a unit and than the external consciousness, then this kind of things happen. And such a quantum effect always changes completely the state of the system. So these are things happening in the relationship between a patient and a doctor or a therapist, if they make contact to this level of reality, which happens often. In traditional Chinese medicine, it's known, and I call it the qi effect, because in this moment, the patient and the therapist simultaneously feel something changed in the consciousness, and something changed outside. A quantum effect is always, you can define it by reaching a new state internally, but also externally. So if internal and external connect, this is something very considerable. It's something which always has a creative effect. So this can happen also if you find the right frequency, or if the right frequency touches a person, because frequencies can change the quantum state of a person. This is my idea, because frequencies can change the quantum state of an atom. For example, if the right photons are absorbed by an electron within an atom, it can change to a different quantum level of energy, and the atom becomes excited. In the same way, I believe that the right frequency can excite our system and bring it from one quantum state to the other. And this is what we want to achieve when we work with other people, or if we work with ourselves. So I just would like to share this with you about the deep quantum effect. And in the article which I just posted on Facebook here just a few minutes ago, you can get a little deeper description of what I was thinking about. So just for sharing this, I like to talk to you in this way, and I wish you a nice day and stay happy and healthy.